It might surprise you, but if you're over 65 and regularly eat the wrong kinds of nuts, your risk of heart disease could increase by up to 48%. That's not just speculation, it's backed by real clinical research. And yet, many older adults are unknowingly adding these very nuts into their daily routine, thinking they're doing something healthy. What's worse, some of the most harmful ones are often found in heart-healthy snack mixes or low-carb diets promoted to seniors. The truth is, not all nuts are created equal, especially as we age. Some nourish and protect your brain, bones, and heart. Others can slowly chip away at your health, increasing inflammation, damaging organs, and interfering with medications you depend on. In this video, we're going to gently walk through both sides of that story. 4 nuts that older adults should absolutely include in their diet, and 4 that are best avoided, no matter how popular they may seem. You may be shocked by what's on the list, and if you find this helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you care about, a parent, a friend, a neighbor. Sometimes a small piece of knowledge passed on at the right time can change someone's health for the better. Let's begin then with what's still working in our favor. Even as our bodies grow older, slower, and more sensitive, there are certain things in nature that continue to support us. Almonds, for instance. They've been around for centuries, and yet many people don't realize just how deeply they serve the aging body. It starts with the bones. As we cross 65, our calcium levels begin to drop more rapidly than ever before, leading to an increased risk of fractures. But almonds, small as they are, pack a punch. With just a small handful a day, about 1 ounce, you're not just snacking, you're rebuilding, supporting the very structure that keeps you upright and mobile. And it's not just calcium. Almonds are rich in magnesium, a quiet but powerful mineral that doesn't get much attention. Magnesium helps guide calcium to where it's actually needed, in your bones, not your arteries. That's crucial, especially in later years, when calcium buildup in the wrong places can increase your risk of heart disease. Almonds gently encourage balance. They remind your body how to distribute nutrients wisely. That's why I often recommend them to friends who are beginning to feel that dull, persistent ache in their knees or spine. Over time, the difference isn't dramatic. It's quiet, subtle, but it's real. What's also wonderful about almonds is their effect on your heart. They contain heart-loving fats that lower LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol. Many seniors I know are prescribed statins or blood pressure medications, but few are told how much a small dietary shift can support those very treatments. Almonds won't replace your medicine, but they can help it work better. And then there's fiber, another unsung hero. Roughly 40% of seniors deal with constipation, and almonds offer gentle relief through their natural fiber content. Not the kind that causes cramping or urgency, but a soft, steady rhythm that the body appreciates. And finally, there's the brain. You may not expect it, but almonds are good for memory too. They protect brain cells from something called oxidative stress, essentially the slow, silent damage that builds up with age. When combined with the flavonoids in their skin, they deliver a double shot of antioxidants. That's why, whenever possible, I encourage people to eat them with the skin on. It's not just about flavor, it's about preserving what matters most. If you have trouble chewing, don't worry. Almond butter, unsweetened, is a lovely alternative, or sliced almonds sprinkled on oatmeal or yogurt. It's the habit that counts, the consistency. Because health after 65 isn't built on grand gestures, it's shaped by small, wise choices repeated over time. That brings us to another lifelong ally. Walnuts. Their shape, often compared to the human brain, is more than poetic. Walnuts actually support brain health in powerful ways. They're rich in ALA, a type of plant-based omega-3 that helps maintain flexible, responsive brain cells. As we age, that flexibility is exactly what we begin to lose. Not just physically, but cognitively. Thinking becomes a little slower. Reactions a bit delayed. And memory, well, it doesn't always cooperate. I remember my neighbor, Mrs. Fong, who told me once, "I keep walnuts in a jar by the window. When I forget what I came in for, I go eat one. It's my little way of telling my brain, I still believe in you." And maybe there's something to that, because studies have shown that even a small daily portion, just over an ounce, can improve processing speed and cognitive flexibility. It's not about becoming younger. It's about staying connected to who we are. Walnuts also contain melatonin, which helps with sleep. And as anyone over 60 knows, sleep becomes more elusive with each passing year. If you find yourself tossing and turning or waking up around 3 a.m. and wondering why your thoughts are suddenly loud, you're not alone. A handful of walnuts before bed won't work like a pill, but over time they may help regulate your rhythms, bring back some of the stillness that night used to bring. They also protect the heart. Arginine, a compound in walnuts, supports the flexibility of blood vessels. That means better blood flow, lower blood pressure, and less strain on a heart that's already worked hard for decades. And again, as with almonds, walnuts contain polyphenols, plant compounds that reduce inflammation, not just in your joints, but in your brain, in your entire body. If you're wondering how best to enjoy them, I always recommend storing walnuts in the refrigerator. Their oils can go rancid quickly. And if you're up for a small physical challenge, cracking them yourself can be a fun, finger-strengthening habit. One friend of mine calls it brain food and hand therapy in one. If you're still with me, I want to say thank you, not just for listening, but for caring about your health, your mind, your independence. This journey we're on isn't easy, and it helps to have companions along the way. So if you're finding value in this, consider sharing it with someone else. You never know when a simple video like this might make a difference in someone's life. Someone who's been struggling quietly, not knowing that help could come in something as small as a walnut. Let's keep going. I want to introduce you to one of the most underrated heroes in the nut world, pistachios. They're vibrant, green, and easy to love. But beyond their taste lies something far more valuable. Pistachios are naturally low in sodium and high in potassium, a rare and powerful combination. For seniors especially, that matters. Our kidneys don't flush out salt as efficiently as they once did. High sodium retention is common, and it contributes directly to elevated blood pressure. Pistachios help balance that out. Eating just a small handful daily has been shown to reduce systolic blood pressure by several points. That might not sound like much, but over time, it can ease strain on your heart and even reduce your reliance on medication. What I love most about pistachios, though, is their gentleness. They're soft, easy to chew, kind to sensitive gums and teeth. For those with dental issues, they're a blessing. And there's more. Pistachios are full of lutein and zeaxanthin, antioxidants that protect the eyes from age-related macular degeneration. If you've ever noticed that your vision isn't quite what it used to be, or if night driving has become harder, this is something to pay attention to. We often think of eye health as separate from what we eat, but the truth is it's deeply connected. Plus, there's something mindful about shelling pistachios. It slows you down, it lets your body register fullness, and the growing little pile of empty shells becomes a quiet reminder that you've had enough. It's a simple way to practice portion control without thinking too hard about it. Next up, perhaps the most misunderstood nut of all, the Brazil nut. Big, heavy, sometimes overlooked, but quietly powerful. Just one Brazil nut can give you your full daily dose of selenium. That's no small thing. Selenium supports your thyroid, that little gland that governs so much. Energy, metabolism, even mood. As we age, thyroid issues can sneak up on us. Fatigue, unexplained weight gain, low mood. They're easy to blame on just getting older. But sometimes it's a matter of minerals, of missing something small but vital. Brazil nuts offer a simple solution, but only in moderation. Too much selenium can be harmful, so I always say 1, maybe 2 a day. No more. It's the rare case where more isn't better. And for those managing multiple health conditions, that balance becomes even more important. But when eaten wisely, Brazil nuts do more than protect the thyroid. They reduce inflammation in the brain, support nerve function, and offer healthy fats for the heart. I've even heard from caregivers that a daily Brazil nut helps stabilize energy levels in an elderly parent who had been feeling unusually fatigued. Small changes, big ripples. And with that, we've explored the 4 nuts that, when chosen thoughtfully and eaten in the right amounts, can help you feel more alive, more supported, more steady in your daily life. But just as important as knowing what to eat is knowing what to avoid. Because some nuts, despite their popularity, carry risks that grow more serious as we age. That's what we'll explore next. Now let's turn the page, because not all nuts are created equal, and some, while once helpful, may quietly turn against us as we grow older. Their risks aren't always visible. They don't shout, they whisper. But over time, they can cause real harm. Peanuts are perhaps the most surprising. They're everywhere, at parties, on airplanes, mixed into protein bars, smeared onto sandwiches for lunch. And for many, they feel familiar, comforting even. But for seniors, peanuts come with risks we can't afford to ignore. First, they're not technically nuts, they're legumes. And that small difference makes a big impact. Peanuts are especially vulnerable to mold during storage. And certain molds produce aflatoxins, tiny but dangerous toxins that can, over time, harm the liver, impair detoxification, and even increase cancer risk. While younger bodies can sometimes tolerate small exposures, older bodies are slower to filter toxins out. We carry more vulnerability in our cells, our immune systems, our livers. There's also the issue of inflammation. Peanuts are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which when consumed in excess and without enough omega-3s to balance them, can fan the flames of chronic inflammation. If you've been struggling with joint pain, fatigue, or flare-ups of arthritis, your daily peanut habit might be quietly making things worse. And let's not forget, most of the peanuts we eat don't come plain. They come salted, roasted in unhealthy oils, dusted with sugar or preservatives. They hide in processed snack bars, trail mixes, and packaged goods marketed as healthy. But what's inside isn't always kind to the aging heart. One man I knew, Richard, learned this the hard way. He had been eating peanut butter toast every morning for over 30 years, a simple pleasure. But after a health scare, a sudden rise in liver enzymes and constant bloating, his doctor asked about his diet. The verdict? Too much peanut-based product, consumed too often, without awareness of what it was doing inside. Once he switched to almond butter and gave his system a break, his body responded with relief. "I didn't realize food could be the problem," he said, "and also the solution." Now let's talk about cashews. They're buttery, rich, and often feel more indulgent than other nuts. But for those of us navigating later life, they can be more trouble than they're worth. What most people don't realize is that cashews are surprisingly high in carbohydrates, and they have a relatively high glycemic index. That means they can spike your blood sugar quickly, especially if eaten on an empty stomach or in large amounts. For seniors managing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, this isn't just an inconvenience, it's dangerous. A sharp spike in glucose followed by a crash can leave you feeling weak, dizzy, or mentally foggy. And over time, it stresses your insulin response. But blood sugar isn't the only concern. Cashews also contain oxalates, compounds that can interfere with calcium absorption and in some cases contribute to kidney stone formation. That's especially worrying for older adults who already have a history of kidney issues or low bone density. I remember one woman, Ellen, who had always considered cashews her go-to snack. She said they helped her feel full between meals. But after her second painful kidney stone in 1 year, her urologist advised her to reevaluate her oxalate intake. Cashews were at the top of the list. It wasn't easy. She loved their taste. But she made the switch to pistachios, and her digestion and energy noticeably improved. "I never thought something so small could have such an effect," she told me. And here's something else. Most commercial cashews are processed with added oils and salt. That means even if your blood sugar is stable and your kidneys are strong, you're still introducing unnecessary fats and sodium. Two things seniors often need less of, not more. Cashews aren't evil, but they're not as innocent as they seem. Macadamia nuts are next. They're often associated with luxury, rich, creamy, indulgent. And while they do contain some heart-healthy fats, they're also among the highest calorie nuts you can eat. Just a small handful carries a heavy energy load, and that adds up fast. For seniors who are watching their weight or trying to lose a few pounds to ease pressure on joints or manage blood pressure, macadamias can work against you, especially if eaten without awareness. They're also high in saturated fat, which in larger amounts can negatively impact cholesterol levels. That's not to say fat is the enemy, far from it. But not all fats behave the same way in the body. As we age, our ability to metabolize certain fats changes. our gallbladders slow down, our digestion becomes more sensitive. And for those with weakened teeth or dental work, macadamia nuts pose a whole other problem. They're hard, dense, even painful to chew. I've spoken with more than one older adult who chipped a crown or irritated their jaw trying to bite into one. No food is worth that. What's more, for those prone to gallbladder issues or gallstones, macadamia nuts can be a trigger. Their richness, combined with a slower digestive system, can stir discomfort or even pain. If you've ever had a full feeling after just a few nuts or a twinge in your upper right abdomen, it might be worth looking closer at what you're eating. So yes, they're delicious, but delicious doesn't always mean beneficial. And finally, we arrive at pine nuts, the elegant, delicate seed that shows up in gourmet dishes and pesto sauces. They seem harmless, tiny, mild in flavor. But for seniors, pine nuts carry unique risks. One of the most serious is how they can interact with medications. Studies have shown that compounds in pine nuts can interfere with a surprising number of prescriptions, over 60% of the most common ones taken by older adults. This interference might not cause immediate harm, but it can reduce the effectiveness of your medication, or in some cases, amplify side effects. And that's not a risk worth taking. Then there's something called pine nut syndrome, a strange, lingering metallic taste that can appear a day or two after eating pine nuts and last for weeks. It's more common than people think, and it disproportionately affects older adults. Why? Because our systems are slower to detox. That odd taste can lead to loss of appetite, nausea, and even unintended weight loss. Something that's especially concerning for seniors trying to maintain strength and nourishment. I once spoke with a caregiver who said her father, already frail, stopped eating almost entirely after experiencing pine nut syndrome. He said everything tasted like metal, she told me, even water. It took weeks for his appetite to return, and in the meantime, his energy, mood, and mobility all suffered. Pine nuts also contain high levels of polyunsaturated fats. While some of these fats are healthy, they're also prone to oxidation, meaning they go rancid quickly and can promote inflammation if not stored properly. For seniors managing arthritis or other inflammatory conditions, that's another layer of concern. Even when they seem fine, pine nuts may be doing harm beneath the surface. So while they may look harmless and even sound elegant, pine nuts are better left off the menu, at least for those of us trying to protect what's still working beautifully in our bodies. So here we are. Perhaps you've already made a mental note, one or two changes you want to try. Maybe it's as simple as replacing the peanuts in your cupboard with pistachios, or swapping that familiar jar of cashew butter for a few slices of almond on your morning toast. These aren't dramatic shifts. They don't require big budgets or new routines. But the truth is, small changes like these, when made with intention, can ripple out into something far greater than we imagine. Because after 65, health isn't just about numbers on a lab report. It's about energy, it's about clarity, it's about waking up and feeling like you can still trust your body to carry you through the day. It's about remembering names, enjoying your meals, sleeping deeply through the night, and walking without fear of falling. It's about presence, the ability to enjoy a conversation, a walk, a laugh, without pain or fog or fatigue dragging at your heels. In the foods we eat, they are quiet messengers, either lifting us up gently or holding us back without a sound. That's what makes this conversation so important. Not because nuts are trendy, but because they are everyday things, snacks we reach for without thinking, foods we share with grandchildren, nibble on during phone calls, keep in jars by the window. If those tiny choices can either sharpen or dull our lives, wouldn't we want to choose wisely? I know it's not always easy. We grow attached to habits. We take comfort in the familiar. And sometimes the thought of changing something, especially something that's been with us for decades, feels like too much. But here's what I've learned and what I remind myself too. It's not about perfection. It's about listening to your body, to your experience, to how you feel after eating something, or how long it takes to feel rested, or why your energy dips halfway through the day. These aren't random. They're signals. If today's video helped you notice even one of those signals, then that's already a step towards something better. And if you know someone else walking this same path, Someone you care about who might be struggling with low energy, digestion issues, memory loss, or just that subtle sense of something isn't quite right? Share this video with them. Sometimes all it takes is a quiet conversation like this to spark change. And maybe your small act of sharing will be the reason someone sleeps better tonight, or has a little more energy tomorrow, or finally lets go of a snack that's been doing more harm than good. Before we close, I want to remind you, you are not fragile, you are wise. And with wisdom comes the power to choose differently, not out of fear, but out of love for yourself. Out of respect for this incredible body that's carried you through decades of joy, loss, laughter, struggle, learning, and living. So whether you start with one almond or decide to give up that nightly handful of peanuts, know this, your body will notice, and it will thank you in the only way it knows how, by giving you more days of strength, more moments of clarity, more nights of rest. If this message resonated with you, consider leaving a comment below. I'd love to hear which nut surprised you most. Good or bad, your experience might just help someone else who's reading. And if you'd like to keep learning how to age with strength, grace, and joy, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. We're building a space here, a quiet, thoughtful place for people like you, people who care, people who want more than just getting old. They want to live well. Until next time, take good care of yourself, and remember, even the smallest seeds, when chosen wisely, can grow into something strong. I'll see you in the next one.